Very good afternoon, everyone. Won't be holding you guys from lunch for a long time. But before, let me have a quick check. How many of you actually talk to your plants at home?
I talk to my plants all the time.
Perfect. Those who don't, I hope you get motivated today after this talk to go back and talk to your plants, right? So what I'm going to be focusing now is past 2 days, yesterday and today. We have been looking at a lot of innovative concepts coming in as far as One Health is concerned, as far as farm biosecurity is concerned, as far as control environment agriculture practices are concerned, or to an extent, soil technology is concerned, right? So let me deep dive into what these aspects are and how we can actually capitalize being in UAE. We all know there are so many diverse players for One Health concept. But if you're looking at One Health has always been a pyramid, a triangle, where you're looking at human health, environment health, and animal health. Plant science or plant health has always been part of environmental health, right? But if you take out plant health, which becomes a pyramid then, at the center of this pyramid, what you're looking at is food systems at the core. For us, being in the agriculture industry, I think there is more value to understand and make the food system sustainable so that we can actually get to our One Health and biosecurity as well. Well, while we are looking at One Health, and there is a lot of overlap that happens with the Sustainable Development Goals, which I'm not going to be boring you with. All of you know that. But what is interesting is that we need to look at the topology for the agri-food systems. Across the globe, the FAO map actually shows how fragmented the agri-food systems topology is across the globe. Yeah. All the way from protracted crisis to regions where there's no data available. But with this topology, what we need to understand is the system actors. All the way from the input supplies, where you're looking at seed supply, where you're looking at fertilizers, nutrients coming in, to the consumer, right? There are multiple actors in place. Now, to couple with these multiple actors, we are also looking at government regulations, we are looking at social organizations and financial institutions where the fundings come from. But while we are looking at these actors, there are critical gaps in the system, and these gaps are more related to the sustainability of technology, to the waste that the agriculture industry is being generating, and the biggest gap you're looking at is the nutritional security. For past 2 days, we have always been looking at food security. I think there is a time now that we need to look at nutritional security more than food security. Yeah? And why do I say that? Well, if you're looking at future food resilience, we are looking at a triple helix system. Now, what is the mission? The mission is the agri-food systems at the global level. This is a macro framework that we are looking at. But with the macro framework, the catalyst for the reinvention of the technologies that will help us move forward is the ag-tech industry coming in. And with the mission and the means, our outcome is going to be the global farms, which are the center of agri-food systems now, right? And that's the focus that needs to be for One Health as well as for biosecurity. Now, why biosecurity? If you're looking at the outcome, which is the farms, you're looking at 3 verticals which are actually impacting the farms across the globe. One is your climate change. Second is your agronomic practices at a micro level. And the third one is the other anthropogenic activities as well. Now, if you go deep dive into the agronomic practices, you've got so many factors that actually impact your soil health, your plant health, and eventually your One Health aspects as well. All right? Why I am bringing this into the One Health aspect is, when we eat the plants, any leafy vegetable, there has been a research paper that has actually shown that the microRNAs from the plants are found in the human system even after the food has been digested. So now, the evidence shows that the plant microRNAs can actually pass through our gut and not get digested, or the acids do not have any effect on those microRNAs. Then what are these microRNAs going to do in human system? No answers yet, right? So, moving forward, if you're looking at One Health, I think there is an urgent need to look at One Biosecurity. Why One Biosecurity? Because if you're looking at the pyramid of plant health, animal health, and human health, coupled with the environmental health, center of this pyramid is the pathogens. So to achieve your One Health, we need to be looking at One Biosecurity for the global farms. Yeah? Human health, animal health, massive fundings being available. Where the gap is right now is the plant health and the environmental health. And where we are coming from is for the plant health. So what we are looking at is a futuristic fix for food systems, and that is One Health driven farms. Okay? Now in this slide, you might see that controlled environment agriculture is one of the concepts that is transforming agtech. When I'm saying controlled environment agriculture, I'm not at all referring to indoor vertical farms alone. We are looking at protected cropping systems, we're looking at greenhouses, we are looking at traditional farms, we are looking at polyhouses, and we are looking over and above indoor vertical farms. To move forward, I would like to ask a question. When did the traditional farming actually went into commercialization phase? Massive commercialization started happening. Anyone?
High-yielding genotypes or genotypes?
Absolutely correct. High-yielding genotypes, right? But before the high-yielding genotypes came in, some technology was adopted, and that technology was your tractors came in, your harvesters came in. Mechanization started happening in traditional farming. That's how the traditional farming got uplifted, right? We need to look at control environment agriculture, especially the indoor vertical farms, as an vertical to support traditional farming and not as a competition for traditional farming. Being in GCC, being in UAE, we had to look at a hybrid model where CEAs not only support the leafy greens and specialty crops, but we need to look at CEA being used as a transformative agent or vertical to move traditional farming ahead. Yeah? So, to understand that, how to make that, let's look at some of the dimensions. When you're looking at traditional farming, what are the dimensions that you're looking at for traditional farming? Sun, which is the light, water, and your environment, which could be the wind as well, right? Now, with these three dimensions in the traditional farming, you put your plants, you put your crops. And these crops, they need day and night times. They are seasonal. So with these three dimensions, you're adding a fourth dimension, which is the time, which is basically required for growing these crops. Now in CA system, what you're doing is basically taking these four dimensions and putting them into a physical place, which becomes your fifth dimension. Now this five-dimensional ecosystem is the most powerful system that we have as of today to move agriculture forward. Okay? Now that's where it gives you a power to move towards nutritional security more than food security. Why? Because now you've got the power to manipulate the plant, modulate the plants to the consumer's benefit. And how can we do that? Well, for that, what is the need of the time is that we need to look at crop expansion, we need to look at new trait introduction, we need to look at non-traditional crop innovation happening for the upliftment of traditional farms. Okay? And that's where innovation is needed. We had wonderful panel discussions today talking about cellular agriculture, talking about seed innovation, right? That is the core that we need to look at now. But before we move to that core, right? Like Mr. Mayola actually presented fresh on table. What are the 3 E targets that are needed for a product to come in? You need excellent quality produce, may it be leafy vegetables, may it be fruit vegetables, may it be pulses as well. You need an economic competitiveness for that, and most importantly, you need environmental friendly. With these 3 E's, can we actually put up farming as a service in this region? Okay? So for that, we need to first understand what is a product. A product is a plant. You can be a logistics supply chain, you can be a farmer, you can be a researcher. Your product is a plant. And to understand this plant, we think that we know plants, but trust me, there's a whole lot of gaps in understanding what plants can do and what we can do with plants. So to move things forward, I'm just going to give you a perspective of what is being done so far as plants is concerned. How many of you have seen the blue rice? Excellent. Now this blue rice is called as forbidden rice. Why forbidden? Because in olden days, only the king's families used to have access to this blue rice because it was highly nutritious. It has got 9 grams of protein content per 100 gram of rice. That is way higher than even the brown rice. What we are doing is we are actually taking this blue rice genotypes into the Bruneian rice industry and helping them with speed breeding for developing new varieties. In the earlier panel, there was a discussion about looking at seeds. Now seeds for protected cropping, especially when you're looking at harsh desert climates, the limitations that are around seed and saplings. I think along with soil, the next vertical that needs to go hand in hand is the seeds across different crops. And that will actually ensure not only your one health, but your one biosecurity across the global farms. Won't go too much into depth of it, but what we can actually produce over here is, in GCC, you can have plants or leafy vegetables or any crops for that matter with higher protein content. You can have accelerated yields. You can actually have enhanced nutritional density. And not only that, if you're looking at the therapeutical angle coming in, suppose we are looking at hospital chains, we could even have crops that have got less potassium, less sodium, which can actually go into the hospital kitchens as a therapeutic treatment. Yeah. So different ways that you can modulate. Not only that, you have now the capacity and capability to modulate any seeds from across the globe to fit into the desert climatic conditions where you can grow your seedlings very fine at 36 to 42 degrees Celsius. So what is needed is tailor-made traits to go to market efficient crops. We have all been talking about farm to fork, but there is more to the farmers. You're looking at farm to fodder, you're looking at farm to pharmacy, farm to closet, farm to face. And plant biodiversity is a huge vertical where these different plant species can be coming into traditional farming practices to take the farming industry in a huge way. I'll quote one example over here. What we are looking at is how a blend of hybrid systems can help you transform species like the agarwood. The problem statement, all of you know what agarwood is? Yeah? The oud that you get, right? Now this plant takes around 10 to 12 years to grow, to set to maturity. The pain point is seed germination and the establishment of the saplings as well. So what we have done, with the help of control environment agriculture practices as well as tissue culture, integrating the different platforms that are available, we have actually managed to enhance germination rate up to 60%. We've got in vitro culture seedlings coming in, which are highly productive, potent inoculation formulations and new crop introductions as well. This was a multi-country project that was implemented. But moving forward, what if I tell you that there is no need for growing the agarwood if you're looking at the secondary metabolites only? Because right now, if you want to harvest, let's take an example of medicinal plants. Medicinal plants are subjected to climate changes, environmental impact, soil degradation, so many other factors. And it actually impacts the batch-to-batch variation for these medicinal plants to be going into the processing industry. What if we take out the value chain of actually growing these medicinal plants from the equation? So that's where we come from, that we are looking at molecular farming as the next step for GCC. Why? There is no limitation on space, and there is no limitation on technological enhancement that can be done in GCC or UAE for that matter. If farming space is a limitation, we can actually take this crop indoors where we can go down to the cellular level for the meristematic cells or the stem cells of the plants based on the species that is grown. We have established an AI augmented platform where we can actually modulate the secondary metabolites to the required amount. When I'm saying this, when you're looking at traditional medicines, you're looking at 5 to 6% of the extract efficiency coming out of these medicinal plants. With this platform, we are looking at 4 to 5 times higher yield and in the most purest form as well. Now, when we do this, we are also reducing the time required. In case of agarwood, you don't need to wait for 10 years or 12 years to extract the metabolites from the plant or the leaves. We can do this within 2 years. So now you're looking at an accelerated process where you're going to be able to achieve much higher yields of the secondary metabolites that you would need to take the molecular farming ahead. And this can be done across crops and across geographical locations. Let's look at the biological activity. When you're looking at biological activity, if you see this smaller inner circle, this is what you get with the traditional farming practices. And with the egg platform, you're almost looking at around 25 score coming for the extracted metabolites here. So that's where we look at the next generation botanicals that can be looked at as a promising industry for UAE, where you can be looking at senolytic and teleoprotective active ingredients. When I'm looking at senolytic, what does it actually mean? Senolytic is basically slowing down the growth of the senescent cells. Teleoprotective is basically protecting the telomere of the chromosome. Now what happens because of this? You are actually slowing down the whole aging process for human beings. And that's where One Health comes in. We've looked at different crops across value chains, including quinoa. What we have is a one biosecurity platform. This is actually made freely available for farmers in Singapore, where we're providing this as a service. We have a diagnostic platforms for localized pest diseases and pathogens as well, all the way from nursery diagnostic to vegetative diagnostic and post-harvest as well. We are looking at viroids, bacteria, viruses, fungi, nematodes, phytoplasma, insects, different verticals. So this is the database that we have made freely available for the local farmers there, and we hope to do something similar in UAE as well, so that the farmers can start capitalizing on the capabilities that we can actually make it available for them. All of us know that plants affect all our 5 senses, right? So based on that, we have actually made a nutritional augmentation database where you can be growing crops which can be targeted towards adaptogens and nootropics. A whole range of things that plants can actually manipulate for us, right? So what we are trying to do over here is we are trying to get a new angle along with food security, I think there is a very immediate need to be looking at nutritional security and human health, which actually gives a very strong platform to secure our One Health activities around the globe. This is a real-time, real case study that we have actually put up, implemented, where we have actually nutritionally augmented crops like kale, mizuna, rainbow chard, tatsoi, red lettuce, with the nutritional properties of selenium, gotu kola, ginkgo biloba, ginseng, and moringa. So the nutritional profiles of these high-value functional plants has been transferred into your daily crops, daily leafy vegetables as well. So those nutritional augmentation, again, these are all non-GMO methods where you don't need to worry about where the seed is coming from, which part of the world you're growing the crops from, but these are highly replicable and scalable nutritional augmentation methods. So what is needed is capacity and capability building at the local ecosystem. Yeah. And when I say that, we should be actually focusing on bringing the global technologies to fit into the local ecosystem. And that is what the theme has been, as always, for the past 2 days. I think I'll stop over here. If there are any questions, free to take them up.